Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
Yeah.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. New intro. That was basically what I worked on all yesterday. I was like, we got to have a good intro for this show. I wanted something custom. I thought I'd be able to whip something together in about, 2 hours. That took 6 hours. So what'd you think about it? I see that Hunter says the pre-recording of the intro sounds like a recording for an amusement, like an announcement park ride or an amusement park ride. Is that a good thing? I was trying to be up energy, high energy, because that's how we're trying to get started in the morning. This is, high energy. Positive Fandom is here. Hi, everyone. Cool intro. You're a great editor. Oh, thank you. All right. I'm glad people like it. I hope you do. It took a long time yesterday, but I think it's something valuable to have for the show. Glad you like it. Everybody, check out Positive Fandom's channel. She is an ally in our pursuit of constructive creativity in the Geekverse. Amusement park. Yeah. So good. Excellent. All right. So today we are going to be talking about Savage Worlds. I do have the PDF. Oh, it's right over here. I got the core book too right here. So Savage Worlds was an RPG that was recommended to me a little while ago because of my current interests in gaming. And they said, oh, you should definitely check out Savage Worlds then. And I did. I've read the book. It was a while back ago. But since we've been doing our study of different action systems and things like that, I thought it would be a good time to go back and refresh myself on Savage Worlds, see what it's all about. And so maybe you would like to come along with me. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. You know, I am feeling like I might need another anchor in my day. Might need another anchor in the day. You know, if you are joining us new here, we've got the Morning Grind. This is our high energy place to talk about all different kinds of topics in the Geekverse. We've been kind of RPG focused lately, but we're talking about other things as well. And then get us productive, get motivated, talk about at the end of the stream how we can make life better, what we can do for the rest, how we can plan out the rest of the day. We have an afternoon adventure. That's not a live stream or anything like that, but I've been putting out stories on Instagram. If you want to do that, if you want another marker in your day, I try to make sure I go for a hike or have some type of afternoon adventure, or at least active recreation. So if you want to see that and you want to use that as a marker as in your day to remember, hey, I should get up away from the computer, I should go and do something, that's the afternoon adventure. And then we're back here at about 8:45 p.m. I might shift that time a little bit. Things are still experimental for the wind down. And that's when we close out the day, reflect and everything like that. See if we had a good day and how we can improve for tomorrow. I might need an earlier morning anchor, though, for myself, because it would be really great if I were up and working and could get about 3 hours of work in before this live stream. Now, I'm in Central Time, so it's 9:30 my time here. So, you know, if I could do 3 hours of work before the show starts, that would be great. We may need some additional accountability. That's what we're doing here. So maybe there's some way that we can connect. I'm working on that. For anybody else who needs that, maybe early in the morning to know that, hey, I'm up, I'm working, everybody working. All right. And then we can celebrate with the morning grind if we do some work early in the morning. All right. Inner Light says, I have the Savage Worlds book, but could never get into it. There's something that's not clicking for me. Well, maybe we can help out here. Maybe it will click here. I do like the Beasts and Barbarians setting for Savage Worlds. Trey, morning. I got your email. Morning, everyone. I love this system about some of the links, and I started watching some of them last night and was trying to watch a few of them this morning. So I got into that a little bit, but not real deep. Okay, let's go over to the morning messages, and then we will start talking about Savage Worlds. This Friday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, we will be watching The Cultists, Season 2, Episode 7 already, Mom's Intervention. It'll be premiering here on YouTube. This is our comedy web show about modern-day Lovecraftian cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand. So come and join us. Each episode's about 7 minutes long, but then right after that, at about 7:40 p.m. Central, we'll be live with the after party. I'm the creator, the co-writer, and the producer of the show. I also played Steve, and I'll be joined by the director and maybe some other member of the cast. We'll see if they can stop by. It's a great place to hang out and have some fun, and I'll be doing some type of giveaway. I always give away something on Friday nights when we're doing this, related to tabletop gaming. Maybe it'll be a board game or another dice tray. We'll see. If you don't know the Cultists and you want to get caught up, if you come over to my YouTube channel, the best way to do that is to go to one of the playlists. I try to organize everything on the YouTube channel by a playlist, and if you just scroll down, here is the Season 2 playlist. You can click Play All and go all the way through the playlist, or right below it, there is a Season 1 right there. So you can click there and go all the way through Season 1 as well, and that'll get you caught up on all of the every episode's like 5 to 7 minutes long. There are 10 episodes in the first season, 10 episodes in the second season. So coming up soon, however, is Ritual. This is the Cthulhu cultist party game of spellcasting and betrayal. This is the game that we designed to go along with the Cultists. We'd really like to be able to do Season 3 of the Cultists. The scripts of that has already been written, and so what we did is we created a board game, a social deduction party game to go along with the Cultists, and we called it Ritual. You can see here we've even got miniatures of all of the different cultists on here. So if you go over here to GameFound, you can see more information about what the game is. You can even follow it right here and get updates. Updates before the campaign even goes live. That's a nice thing about GameFound, and then we'll be launching soon. I don't have a date yet, but we'll be launching soon. You can come here and you can check out the trailer for the game, look at the miniatures. If you click that follow button, then you will get a Rob, High Priest of Dagon in combat pose miniature if you then later come and back the game. So if you'd like to join the play test, you can see how to play right here. This is our basics on how to play. But if you would like to join the play tests and get access to a special advanced copy of the rules. Also, I'll send out a Discord server invite to all of the playtesters and so forth. You can click that link. You'll just go to a playtest request form, and you can get in there. I've had over 700 people already sign up, so I would love to have you as part of that as well. Also, Terra Tiles are in pre-order right now. I am reprinting Terra Tiles. This is my tabletop terrain system that I designed with my brother several years ago. It's been out of print. I'm bringing it back into print. Terra Tiles are large, thick, and durable hexagons that are designed to put out on your gaming table to lay out battlefields fast, whether you're trying to do war games or skirmish games or RPGs. Great for different games, especially that use zones for determining movement. Check those out. There are a whole bunch of different videos on Terra Tiles on this channel. I also used Terra Tiles to create a fully three-dimensional, hexagonal, modular terrain system for my gaming room. I always wanted a terrain system that fit together really well for the table, for the large size miniatures like we use for skirmish games or RPGs or even war games like Warhammer or something like that. So I was able to use Terra Tiles to create a table for that in about a day's worth of work. I mean, it wasn't all that much effort if you wanted to go the extra step and try to get some 3 dimensions in there. I put up a whole video on YouTube, a whole video series actually, about how to do exactly that. So if you want a box of Terra Tiles, they're going to be very limited in number, and if you want one of the boxes to have your name on it, you need to do a pre-order through Ravenkeep. All right, that's what's going on right now. Let's get to the main topic. All right. So, also, I was thinking about the giveaway this Friday night. One thing that I could give away, I've got battle packs of stand-up terrain. That might go this Friday night. But I got coffee. The Cultist coffee and the Witch's Brew. And of course, we've got our own coffee mugs and everything like that as well. So those might be something to give away on Friday nights. I did, in the Discord, set up a place called The Morning Grind in the Ravenkeep Discord server because I thought there might be, some people might want a more private place to chat during the day or during the show. I won't be reading the Discord chat during the show. So if you're in a public area, we can put your comment up on the screen and things like that. But it occurred to me there might be some people who would like to chat, but not necessarily publicly. And so we'll do that on the Discord server. If you want to link the Discord server, I was giving those out when playtest emails were going out for Ritual. I don't want to just do a public Discord server. You have to be connected in some way to do that. Hunter says, I really want to check out the Savage Worlds book set in a swamp. Saw it at my local gaming shop before it closed, and it looked neat. Some sort of steampunk thing with a giant gator man. Sounds cool. I haven't seen that one. Does sound neat. Remind me, Trey. Trey says, please save a little time at the end to talk about GM dials, starting on page 136. Okay, sounds like we need to do that. All right, moving on. All right, so let's bring up the Savage Worlds here. Oh, no. There we go. So this is the Savage. Let me arrange my windows here. Look. Okay, there. So this is Savage Worlds. Now, Trey also had the idea that we should look at a character sheet first. We want to focus on actions and how we actually play this game to figure out what it's doing. But I think it is a good idea to take a look at a character sheet. So I wonder if I can find one. Like, is there a character sheet someplace that's really easy to access in this book? Like, what does a character sheet look like? Well, I don't immediately see one. Maybe there's one at the beginning of characters. All right. Well, I don't immediately see a character sheet. If you know where one is on bottom. Oh, at bottom. My copy doesn't have it. Anyway. All right. Well, all right. So I didn't immediately see that. Okay. So let's get into, we can get started and we can say, what is a role-playing game? We can skip all of that. And ordinarily I would skip over what do you need to play except for in this case, we probably need to take a look at the dice. And then also we've got this thing called an action deck that we also need to look at. Wait a minute. Did we sip and breathe today? I'm feeling keyed up so that we should sip and breathe. First, breathe. Breathe with me. Breathe with me. Inhale, complete exhale. It'll be better. Your life will be better. And now everybody can take a sip. Now I'm feeling better. Okay, so we are using traditional gaming dice, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20. You also need a special wild die, a D6 of a different color, as explained in Chapter 3. Probably won't be a problem. We've got lots of polyhedral dice and of all different kinds of colors. We abbreviate the different dice as D4, D6, D8. Yeah, we know that. Okay, so standard stuff there. But here, this is interesting. Savage Worlds uses a standard deck of playing cards with jokers left in. Cards are used for initiative in combat to help keep things moving fast and furious. So we have some kind of unique action and, initiative system here. We also study initiative systems. I think they're interesting to try to get right. Setting. These are the bennies. So I've heard people talk about bennies as the meta currency. Some people, I notice, are anti-meta currency. But this game does use one, and so this is where the term bennies comes from in terms to gaming and miniatures. Okay, so now we know what we need to play. Let's skip over characters. We'll do whole streams on character creation. So let's go down to, there is a section on gear. Let's skip over that, and let's go straight to rules. So how do we play this game? Wild cards and extras. What, Hunter? What is this? I would deep inhale, but I'm at a mold damage. Uh-oh. Well, if you're in a high mold environment, please do not deeply inhale. That would be damaging. On the other hand, I hope you're able to remove yourself from the high mold environment. Sounds like you're on an adventure. Sounds like something an adventurer would have to take care of. Hope you're all right. Okay. Wild card and extras. So the heroes, your hero, a player character, and unique allies, villains, and monsters are collectively called wild cards because they have a better chance at doing things and are a little tougher to put down and generally more detailed than common guards, minions, or lackeys, collectively called extras. Okay. Red. The actual wild card symbol varies and is usually themed for the particular setting, such as a skull and crossbones for a pirate, games like 50 Fathoms or Marshall's Badge and Deadlands. Besides your own characters, it's up to the game master to decide what characters are wild cards. The Sergeant of the City Watch probably isn't a wild card. So we're distinguishing between the primary characters and other characters. Wild cards can take 3 wounds before they're incapacitated. Wild cards roll a wild die, that extra D6, along with their trait die when making trait rolls and take the highest of the 2 as their total. So, okay, so that is our added bonus. Hunter says, I wish. It's working, though. 2d6 poison on a failed save. Oh, yeah, we don't want to take that. Help you. How many hit points do you have? Don't want to take that damage anyway. Trait rolls. Okay, so this looks like our main action resolution system. To make a skill or attribute check or roll, simply roll the die assigned to it. If the result is 4 or better, the target number or TN, then the action is successful. For example, if the character's strength is D6, he rolls a 6-sided die. On a 4 or better, he's successful. Okay, so it just seems like if the result is 4 or better, so we have a static 4 for our target number, it seems like. And then we're changing up the die we're rolling. Then modifiers. Circumstances modify the die roll, such as shooting at something far away or finding a well-hidden clue. Some things, such as ranged attacks, have standard modifiers. It's up for the GM to determine any modifiers for more subjective tasks, such as spotting an ambush or eavesdropping on a conversation through the door. In general, an easy task, such as finding tracks in mud, is made at +2. A difficult task, such as finding tracks by torchlight, is made at -2. A very common task, such as finding tracks in a rainstorm, A very difficult task, rather, is -4. Okay. So when a character rolls multiple dice, such as firing a machine gun, check each die separately. So this is the wild die. So I know some people played this. Trey says that he really likes this. Let me know if you played this before. But also, if you're new and you're checking this out for the first time, let me know what you think. Is it something that you would want to try out? It was something that I've wanted to try out. When I read through it the first time, it was something, well, I would definitely try it out. I understand why it was recommended to me, because I talk a lot about Fate. And actually, I was talking about Fate, and I was talking about the context of it's not quite doing what I want to do. I think a lot about it, but its system isn't quite what I want it to do. So I think about trying to modify it. And then that's when people were like, well, you should try out Savage Worlds, because it is, it's got some of those same storytelling narrative elements, but it has a bit more crunch. Trey says, as a general rule, if the NPC is worthy of a name, they likely have a wild die. Scott, welcome. Scott Green, welcome. All bonus and penalties apply to the highest die roll. Target number is static. Okay, so we always have the same target number. We're modifying the roll. Standard of 4. Simple. That keeps the game master from having to come up with a bunch of, a target numbers. Now, of course, you are setting the modifier. We talked about that yesterday with GURPS. And whether or not the character has does the player have all of the information necessary to construct a check, or, to perform a check when necessary? When you always have to get a target number from the game master, that means that the player does not have all the information. That information, part of the information necessary to perform the check, has to come from the game master, which can potentially slow things down. So here, if you always know the target number is 4, you can perform the check yourself, unless the game master intervenes, I suppose, and says, hey, there's a penalty or a bonus involved here. So extras roll a single die when making a trait roll. Wild cards roll an extra d6 and take the highest of their trait die or the wild die. Both of these dice can ace, see below. 1 wild card die per action. When wild cards are when wild cards roll multiple dice, the wild card being a person or the player, right? When a wild card, because how does the card roll dice? That was what was mixing me up. But when wild cards roll multiple dice for a single action, such as when firing a machine gun, they roll only 1 wild die. The wild die may replace a trait die or be ignored. It never adds another action to the roll. So Gabe has the frenzy edge. See page 42. He rolls an extra fighting die when making a melee attack along with a wild die. Only 2 of his dice can cause hits, since the wild die can only replace a die, not add another attack. Has the frenzy edge, rolls an extra die when making a melee attack. So you're rolling 2 of those, and only 2 dice can hit, even though you also get the wild die. Okay, got it. Aces. All traits and damage rolls in Savage Worlds are open-ended. That means that when you roll the highest number possible on a die, a 6 on a d6, 8 on a d8, and so forth, you get to roll that die again and add it to its total. This is called an ace. Any modifiers to that die roll should be tacked on after adding up the aced roll. So we got Red attempts to leap across a dangerous ice chasm. She's a wild card with d8 in athletics, so she rolls a d8 and a d6 and takes the highest result. In this case, both dice ace, 8 on the d8 and 6 on the d6. She rolls the d8 again and gets a 4 for 12. She rolls the d6 again and gets another 6, followed by a 2. That's a total of 14. Leaping the chasm with ease this time. Raises. I like we've got a lot of card playing and poker sounding mechanics in here. And of course, we have the deck of cards actually at the table as well. So I don't know. I feel like a cowboy sitting here and reading this. So raises. Sometimes it's important to know just how successful a trait roll was. Every 4 points over the target number is called a raise. If your hero needs a 4 to shoot an opponent and rolls an 11, he hits with 1 raise. And that would have had 2 raises with a roll of a 12. Figure raises after adjusting for any modifiers. A single raise always provides an additional effect of some sort, such as a bonus damage when attacking or benefit determined by the GM for other rolls. Now we get into opposed rolls. Okay, so sometimes rolls are opposed by an opponent. The attacker gets a trait total, then the defender attempts to beat it. The exact skill or attribute used in contests are specified for each circumstance, or the GM can decide what makes the most sense. So this is okay. We know what opposed rolls are, but okay, how do we do it? The acting character in the opposed roll always gets his trait total first, including any bennies used, and then must get at least a basic success. That's the TN4, or he fails. The defender rolls next and must exceed the first character's result, or the attacker wins. Okay, so the winner also uses the opponent's total for purposes of determining raise effects. Okay, so that's a bit different from what I was thinking that was going to be, because I was thinking about like the contests in GURPS when we were talking about, well, they're both rolling the same thing, and are you trying to get, if one fails and one succeeds, then the winner's obvious. But this is something more like an attack or sneaking up behind somebody with stealth or something like that. So there's still somebody who's acting and somebody who is trying to prevent that action in this. Trey says the origins of this game are from a Deadlands board game. I was hearing something about that in the YouTube videos you sent me, and that these rules were extracted from it, and but I don't know that original game. So Hunter says, so players and named NPCs have wild cards. Yeah. So I think the terminology they're using here, that the player characters and then also the named NPCs are wild cards, because that's just what they're calling characters like that, instead of like PC and major NPC. Sounds like to me, if I'm understanding this right, they are wild cards, which means they get to roll the wild die, which means you get to roll the wild die, which makes things easier for you. We have critical failures here. A critical failure occurs when a wild card rolls a 1 on both the skill die and the wild die of the trait roll. So 2 1s. The attempt automatically fails and something bad happens. A weapon is dropped or gets stuck. The attack hits a friend. The vehicle crashes, spells misfire, and so forth. Critical failures can be re-rolled. Cannot be re-rolled, even with bennies. So if an extra rolls a 1 on a trait check, and it's important to know if it's a critical failure, such as when casting a spell, roll a d6. On a 1, it's a critical failure. Otherwise, it's just a normal. So you're kind of rolling to confirm critical failure. Welcome, everybody. I see that we got 10 people watching right now. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Love to chat with you. Extras, we just did that. Multiple dice. Some abilities allow characters to roll multiple trait dice, such as the Frenzy Edge, like we were just talking about. A critical failure with multiple dice occurs when more than half of the results are natural 1. Yeah, you wouldn't want, if you get a whole bunch of dice, you're decreasing the possibility of getting all 1s. Yeah, the 1 on 1 die, that's too frequent for something that's critical. But if you're rolling more than 1 dice, it should probably increase your chances, like you're shooting a machine gun or something like that. Unskilled attempts. If a character doesn't have a skill for an action he's attempting, he rolls a d4 on his skill die and a wild die for a wild card and subtracts 2 from the total. The GM may decide certain tasks cannot be attempted unskilled, such as performing complex surgery or flying a commercial jet. That's always something that is subjective. I mean, that was kind of writing that in when I was working on my action system too, because of course GURPS has the very complicated, I don't want to say complicated, but I will say very thorough system of default skills defaulting to other things, and how you would be able to roll something that's you're unskilled in, what it defaults to. Because I prefer personally now, in the direction that I'm going with more narrative gaming, not to have a list of 40 skills to have to look through. That the skills should be a fairly tight list, which makes the character sheet more concise, and that you can identify what you're actually supposed to be good at. But then that does come up with the case that, well, now what do you do if you're not trained in something? You need some type of simple mechanic right here. And then it seems to me that the arbitrary GM choice here at the end, where we say, well, there may be some things that you must have training for, and the GM just has to make that call. Rerolls. Some edges or abilities allow a character to reroll traits so long as they're not a critical failure. To do so, roll all the dice again and get a new total. You may keep any of the totals generated, so rerolls never make things worse unless you roll a critical failure. This ends all rerolls immediately and becomes the result of the attempt. That's the risk one takes in pushing the limits. Okay, multiple rerolls are allowed with different edges, bennies, and other abilities. So yeah, keep your original total. So a reroll, yeah, so if you total up and you get a good roll and you still reroll, even if you reroll badly, it won't hurt you unless it's critical failure. Characters that are not wild cards are minor NPCs, mooks, etc. Right. Inner Light says, I think that's statistically less likely to than the roll of a 1 on D20. Oh, we're gonna have to break out all of our dice probabilities, right? Yeah, so it depends on what your trait die is. It doesn't have to be a D6, but we're getting a D6 as part of our wild card, right? Yeah, it could be depending on what dice we're doing. Scott Green says, checking for a critical failure is only for minor NPCs and extras, right? And only if the GM wants to check for it. You can just let it stand as a basic failure, right? Because, yeah, they're only rolling their 1 trait die, right? So they're not rolling the wild die. And it makes sense to have the 2 1s. That's rare enough that you could have a critical failure. But if you've got these, the NPCs, the extras, the true NPCs, the unnamed NPCs, that'd be comically failing, critically failing all the time, which might be okay for certain comical games, but not for other things. Thank you for the clarification. Group roles. Oh, now group checks. That's also something we have to think about. I think this is something that Dungeons and Dragons also does poorly, I think, if I'm recalling, because I did a study, not online, but I was trying to look at what's the best system for group roles, because sometimes you need to do group checks, but what's the right system here? So when you want to make a trait roll for a group of extras with like traits, or 1 trait die as long as you, as usual, along with a wild die, and treat them as the group's result. Oh, so this isn't talking about all of the PCs trying to make a group roll. This is talking about grouping your extras for 1 type of action. So roll 1 trait die as usual, along with a wild die, and treat this as the group's result. This gives a decent average without making rolls for every individuals. Not the PCs, it seems like. A group of soldiers, but the group gets the wild die. The group gets the wild die because it's a group. So a group of soldiers attempts to slip through Gabe's sensors. The GM rolls their stealth die, a D6, and a wild die, and takes the best of the 2 as the soldier's total. Yeah, because trying to roll for all of them, whether this is a group of NPCs or a group of PCs, I don't think it works well. So let's talk about the bennies right here. So this is our meta currency. Every now and then, dice rolls may not work in your favor. That's why Savage Worlds gives players a little control over their hero's fate. Player character bennies. Players start the game session with 3 bennies, American slang for benefits, which, you know what, I hadn't ever actually heard. I'm here in the South. I don't think I have ever heard someone say that. Maybe it comes from some other place, because I didn't know what that was. Makes sense now, though. American slang for benefits, represented by poker chips. And it makes sense to use poker chips in the context of all of our poker and card game related terminology here. Gaming stones. The official bennies we make are for all of our games or other tokens that signify a bit of good luck or fate. Bennies are discarded at the end of each session. Use them or lose them. Bennies are awarded in 2 ways. Awards. The Game Master could occasionally award players for clever actions, role-playing their character, especially any hindrances, or a great feat of heroism. Occasionally award players for clever actions. Okay. Can also award players a Benny for telling a great story in character, delivering a fantastic line that makes everyone laugh, or creating an emotional moment. Joker's Wild. When a player character draws a Joker during combat, all players receive a Benny. So that was the, remember, this card-based system is what we're going to be using for initiative in combat. So actually that's, that actually sounds a bit more like inspiration, like how you get them. So it seems like that draws more, or is more similar to inspiration in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons than it is fate points, right? The fate, fate dice, or the fate coins that are circulating during a fate game. I was thinking that was like this, but it was going to be more like that. But this sounds more like stuff, because a lot of this is on the game master's call. And then Joker's Wild, when a character draws a Joker during combat. Hold on. Excuse me. So the game master gets bennies too. At the start of each session, the GM gets 1 benny for each player character. These may be used for any of his characters, including non-wild cards, throughout the course of the game. Each of the GM's wild cards has 2 bennies, plus any from edges such as luck when they appear in the game. They can use these or any of the bennies in the common pool as the GM wishes, but they can't share them without an edge or ability that allows it. They can't share them without an edge or ability that allows it. Heroes get bennies when they do something clever, role play, or affected by their hindrance in the scene. Okay, so now there's that part right there. Did I miss that part up here? Bennies are awarded in 2 different ways. But here we've got, which is I thought, okay, so in the inspiration type of way, and then in a wild card way, but then down here when you're affected by a hindrance. So that's kind of more of a fate thing. Good morning, Rhino. Good morning. Great to see you here. Setting rules for failures differ in Savage Worlds. A gritty zombie setting, you will want your wild cards to get fumbles from time to time. Trey says cards are used in this game for initiative and chase mechanics. Okay, so heroes do get bennies when they do something clever, roleplay, or are affected by their hindrances in a scene. The GM doesn't reward herself when role-playing her villains, but her characters do benefit from drawing jokers in combat. So Joker's Wild. Anytime the villains draw a joker, put 1 benny in their general pool and give another to each enemy wild card. Using bennies. Okay, so how does this help you? Bennies may be spent at any appropriate time and don't incur any sort of penalty. They may only be used on your own character. Okay, so you can't be shared. Here's the way characters can use their bennies. Reroll a trait. Bennies grant a hero a reroll on any trait. Best of all, you get to keep the best total from all of your rolls, so it's not going to hurt you again, with the only exception of a critical failure, which ends the attempt and must be accepted, such as the price of attempting fate. Tempting fate. Recover from being shaken. This is an instant and may be done at any time, even interrupting other actions if desired. Soak rolls. Bennies also may be used to prevent wounds or recover from being shaken. See soak rolls on page 96 for more information. I remember it saying that our wild card characters could soak up to 3 wounds before they are out. So here's a way to get rid of that, or prevent that. Draw a new action card. When the game is in rounds, a character can spend a benny to get a new action card. This occurs after all cards are dealt and edges or hindrances like quick, level-headed, or hesitant are resolved. Then players or the GM may spend bennies for additional cards as many times as they like and take their choice of all their draws. So I guess that means, like, if you're not going fast enough, if you realize that something else is going to happen before you get to act, maybe you get to draw more cards and pick the one you want. Edges like quick or level-headed do not apply to these additional cards drawn with bennies. This continues until everyone, including the GM, passes. Then the round begins and no further cards may be drawn. You may re-roll damage. You may spend a benny to re-roll damage. Include any additional dice you have gained for a raise on the attack roll. Regain power points. A character with an arcane background can spend a Benny to regain 5 power points. Power points and their use are explained on page 147. Influence the story. This one is entirely up to the game master, who may allow your character to spend a Benny to find an additional clue if you're stuck, come up with some mundane but needed item, or push a non-player character into being a bit more agreeable. So that's also kind of like a fate thing right there. Let the bennies flow. Players tend to surprise you when they have a little more control over the game. So we got some notes here on how to do this. It does. Okay, so it says be fairly free with them, especially early in the game. If someone makes everyone laugh and isn't distracting the flow of the game, toss her a Benny. When everyone role plays a hindrance, when someone role plays a hindrance, reward her. When someone does something clever or heroic or imaginative, acknowledge it with a Benny. Some GMs worry the game will become too easy if bennies are too common, but we find the opposite is true. When bennies are plentiful, players often spend them on trivial things that are important to them. Maybe their thief really wants to pick the lock on the chest. There's nothing particularly valuable inside, and the player probably knows it, but he's the thief and wants to prove himself to the rest of the party. When bennies are scarce, however, players tend to save them for injuries, death, and taking out the big bads. That's fine, but takes away from the fun and heroics that got them to this point. Savage Worlds is about big actions, and players should be encouraged to take chances. This is the currency that allows those chances. So yeah, that's we talked about when we were talking about the Fate RPG. I had that. That was a problem when we were playing with our group and we were working on our setting. We were working on that, especially the name Fate Points. In that case, people were like, "Oh, well, a Fate Point." I got to keep that. I don't want that to, go away. I need to save it for injury, death, or something like that, some kind of bigger problem. But it actually works better if those are circulating and cycling at the table much more freely than that. And so they're saying the same kind of thing here. Veteran Savage Worlds GM might also notice bennies tend to flow fairly fast early in a session. The group is settling in, laughing, and are rewarded for role-playing their hindrances the first time or two. Then in mid to late game, bennies start to be spent faster than they're gained. This is a fantastic pace. I remember this from my first read-through of this, and I thought this was very interesting that instead of the constant circulation, you're actually using these to here drive a kind of story arc. So mid to late game, the bennies tend to be spent faster than they're gained. This is a fantastic pace. It gives the heroes opportunities to do big things that in the early to mid game, then forces some resource management for the final showdown. If you find yourself being stingy, go the other way next time and run it and see how it affects your group. Then you'll know what's right for you and your friends. So instead of something like Fate, where we are intentionally trying to cycle these things in scene to scene and they're flowing, this has actually got a structure to the flow of these things that is across the entire game session. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Scott says that invoking your hindrances is the most common way to get more bennies. All right. And that seems like the way that it should be. I like that. I prefer that. And we were talking about, we saw the difference between that and GURPS that we were looking at yesterday. GURPS, if you take a disadvantage, then you get the points and the benefits right there for it, at character creation. And you get to spend those points creating a new character, creating some other part of your character, more skills, better stats, whatever it is. But the issue, and then you're just expected to role play that disadvantage, right? You're expected to role play it. That's why you're getting the points up front. But also, it's not entirely clear that that will be a disadvantage to you during that particular game. That's one of the things with the point buy systems like that, well, I've got this disadvantage, a hindrance kind of thing, but it's not guaranteed. I'm getting a reward up front for it, for taking it. Then I'm just expected to role play it. That's my cost that comes in later. And there's no guarantee that's actually going to be disadvantageous to my character during any part of the game. The fate and hindrance system with the bennies here, I like better because you take this hindrance. Well, when do you get rewarded for having that hindrance and things being worse for you? Well, it's right then when it occurs, like when it actually makes something worse for you, when it's actually disadvantageous right there in the game, you get the fate point, you get the Benny, you get the reward right there. I like that system. Let's see here. Should we look at combat? We want to be sure that we take a look at the dials that Trey had asked about. How much time have we got? Oh, we still got 15 minutes. So let's take a look. Well, there's a lot to combat right here. There's a lot to combat. Let's go down and take a look at what Trey was talking about. Of course, I think that combat itself should be something that we should specifically study and make a study of across a bunch of different RPGs and get deep into exactly what the combat systems are, because obviously that's a huge part of this, part of RPGs for most people, for a lot of people. And so careful study of those systems is probably something that we should do in a dedicated series. This, I've been trying to look at how do you actually play, take actions, and then play. Oh, so let's also, if I could Google and find a character sheet. Let me see if I can do that. Savage Worlds character sheet. I think I see it right here. Let me see if I just get a PDF. I should have had one ready. I just figured that it was in the book. Savage Worlds character sheet. Download now. Okay, so I've got the character sheet right here. So let's look at the character sheet, and then let's look at the dials that we were talking about right here. So let me take this down. And then bring up the character sheet. So present. Here we go. Oh, let me bring it up. So here we go. Here is the character sheet. So we can kind of see what we're looking at here. So help, can you see that? So here here are our attributes. Okay, so we can look at this based on what we know about how to play right here. Agility, smarts, spirit, strength, and vigor, right? So these are your core attributes: agility, smarts, spirit, strength, and vigor. And we can see over here that we have a die associated with each one. And I suppose what you're going to be doing here is like filling in which one of these, indicating which one of these is your die roll for that, because we're going to get the D6 because that's the wild die. But if we're doing something that has to do with agility, we should roll whatever our agility is. Oh, look, this is an interactive character sheet. I can actually indicate which one I've got right here. That's pretty cool. So maybe I've got the D10 in agility. So I'd roll a D10 and a D6. Skills here. I was hearing in another YouTube video that the skill list has got a sample skill list to use, but then depending on the setting that you're in, you may come up with other skill lists to have, but that these right here are the common skills that everybody's got like across settings: athletics, common knowledge, notice, persuasion, and stealth. And so I can click over here and pick a trait die for which one of those. That's nice. Name, race, bennies, conviction, HT, height and weight, I guess. We've got indicate pace, parry, and toughness, and a place to put our gear. Here is where we talk about our hindrances. That looks like hindrances right there. And then here are our advantages. Special powers, magic, I guess. Place to put weapons. So what do we need to know about weapons? We need to know weapon, range, damage. Something is a little bit, looks like messed up. AP, RD, weight, and notes. And then over here, we've got wounds, INC, I'm not sure what that is, and fatigue. And then we've got a track down here as well. So that makes sense. We're talking about rolling these different dice and things like that. What we've just learned, that kind of squares to what we're seeing right here. I like it. I'm glad we pulled that up to find it. Okay, so then let's go over here and see about what Trey was talking about. Got to get back to my rule book. What page was that we needed to check, Trey? Oh, Trey says INC is incapacitated. Okay. We saw incapacitation there. And the bottom track was ammo. Page 136. Okay. Okay, we're back to the book. So page 136. Let's check that out. Whoop, 136. La-da-da, la-da-dee. Right here, setting rules. 136. So is this what you're talking about? The 3 rules here? When to use the 3 rules? Savage Worlds ranges from dark and gritty detective tales to cinematic epics to political thrillers. These rules provide a great framework for anything you want to do, but adding the right setting rules really brings the world in action to life. When to use these rules? Setting rules accommodate different play styles and help emulate genres or tropes of established settings, like those of a book or a movie that's inspired you. This lets you easily tweak the rules to make gritty crime drama more bloody or adventurous space romp more fun, all without changing the core parts of the game. The basics. Each setting rule is different. Some apply during character creation, others tweak combat skills or even a benny in some way. So, born a hero. Heroes may ignore the rank qualifications for edges during character creation. They must still meet other requirements as usual. This usual rule for rank requirements applies afterward. Okay. Don't know much about that at the moment. So conviction, though. Oh, I saw conviction on the character sheet, right? Conviction is a special award granted when a character experiences a great victory or catastrophic misfortune. If possible, use a themed token to note the reward. Maybe a marshal's badge in Deadlands, a benny of a different color, a toy doubloon for 50 fathoms, and so on. Convictions can be spent to add a d6 to all characters' trait and damage totals until the beginning of her next turn. This die can ace, which is to explode, and its result is added to the final total. Conviction tokens aren't bennies and can't be used as such. They are kept between sessions, however. A character may maintain conviction from round to round by spending a benny at the start of its turn before it runs out. Once conviction lapses, however, the effect ends. Oh, that's interesting. Like powering up for a certain moment. Triumph and tragedy. Conviction is granted for personal triumph and tragedy, drawing on a character's entire background, including but not limited to edges and hindrances. Savage settings may also grant conviction for certain world-specific actions and events. Triumph. Characters gain convictions when they overcome significant obstacles core to their overall goal and motivations. This might mean defeating powerful enemies, saving a true love, or overcoming some great mystery or problem. Look, that and things like heroes never die, etc. Heroes never die. All right, we'll look at that right after conviction. So, okay, triumph. You also work with this in tragedy. Some of the most interesting heroes in fiction, film, and legends spend as much time battling their personal demons as they do fighting their foes. Eventually, this same issue gives them strength as they work through their grief and overcome obstacles to rise once more against the challenges that they face. When a character experiences a significant personal loss or destructive event, the GM feels it's appropriate, you gain conviction. This might happen in the course of the game, but players should be proactively suggesting their own ideas to the game master. Consider your hero's backstory and occasionally look for ways to do what your favorite authors do to their characters. Torture them. Think about what's important to them and threaten to take it away. Note that earning conviction for harmful behavior is motivating for players in a game to occasionally spotlight their character's dark side. It's not an endorsement or rationalization of poor conduct in the real world. Right. I like the conviction thing. It seems like it's a good, or potentially a good addition to the Benny system, because it can keep going from round to round, but can really power you up when you need it. Let's go down and look at Heroes Never Die. Heroes never die. So these are all optional rules here. Heroes in movies very rarely die. And when they do, they go down fighting or perform one last epic act of heroism. When this rule is in play, wild cards who are incapacitated from a damage roll make a vigor roll as usual, but treat critical failures as regular failures and ignore the rules for bleeding out. How a hero might survive what should have been certain death is a chance to get creative. An adventurer who falls from a towering cliff, for example, might land in a pool of water or crash through the branches of a forest far below. If the situation is particularly heroic, or if it serves as a major story point, the GM and player can decide the character perishes. A hero who confronts a massive demon on the crumbling bridge, for example, might take the fiend with him with his final blow. Villains. The reverse is also true. Villains rarely die either. Heroes should play this in the spirit that's intended. It shouldn't be an attempt to cause some sort of gruesome and undeniable death to a villain who falls into their hands, for example. They should instead turn the captive over to authorities, kind of like the classic Batman thing, right? From the Adam West Batman. They go to the tie him up for the police to take care of them. Then they'll come back later. They should instead turn the captive over to authorities, even though they know full well he will eventually escape to plague them once again. All right, so what do we think? What do we think about Savage Worlds? If you haven't ever played Savage Worlds or haven't ever even looked at it, what do you think about the system? Is it something you want to try out based on what we were able to figure out about it right now? You want to learn more about it? You want to try playing it? Let me know in the comments. Let me take that down. There we go. Inner Light says, I think I'm getting it. I'm just trying to decide if I like it. And there's probably a lot more to it, obviously, because we didn't even, we're trying to stay focused here on how do you actually play the game? How do you take action? Because to me, that's what playing the game is all about. All right. So we are about to transition here and take just a few minutes to try to have a better day. If this is the first time that you have been with us on the stream here, we take a few minutes to try to plan our day because we've got time, between here. The next live stream is in approximately 12 hours, right? So what do you want to do with the time between this live stream, between the ending of this live stream, and then when we come to the wind down, the chill and mellow place at the end of the day? What do you want to have accomplished so that when we get to the wind down, you know that you've had a great day? So Trey says, the only thing I can say is I did not like it as much when I read it and changed my mind when I played it. Well, I think there's a lot to be said to that too. Like, I was that way, I know, with Fate. Like, I did not understand what I was trying to do, what Fate was trying to do until I played it with a game master who was really good at running Fate. And, I'm not somebody who would actually say I would never play that system or whatever. That it's all about, well, first of all, who you're playing with. If my friends are playing whatever system, I might want to hang out with my friends. And then if the game master has a good story going on and understands how to use the rules and the setting and things like that. So, that could certainly be the case. Even if you think this might not be your thing, well, hey, that's why I'm also in favor of like one shots. Who wants to have to commit to, well, I don't know if I, like the system or whatever. Would you like to play endlessly, commit to an endless campaign? Maybe you don't. But especially if we could come up with some way to all play together, maybe somebody willing to run, a one-shot hour and a half, something like that, 2-hour Savage Worlds game, and all these other different systems as well. And just to let people try them out, see what they're all about. I'm working on that. We need better community collaboration. Optional rules is redundant. Inner Light says, thank you, Trey. That makes a lot of sense. The language is throwing me off a bit. Rhino says setting rules are to enforce genre. For example, the ritual magic casting from ETU to keep magic present but low. So many settings. Yeah, that's an issue that I have. And I'm trying to also think about how to solve this, is that there are a lot of things that I would like to be able to play in and, try out and do, but it's, difficult to, first of all, get everybody together and everybody who wants to do that, in a physical place and things like that. But also that, and all these things don't have to be endless campaigns that go from level, 1 to level 20. I want to play in Middle Earth. I really would like to do some role playing in Middle Earth. And there are a couple of different characters that I would like to play. I would really like to play a Rider of Rohan. I would also really like to play a Swan Knight of Dol Amroth. I think it'd be really cool to go on an adventure being either one of those. But who in the world is going to have time? Those things will never happen if I have to, find somebody who's willing to run, 20th level, whatever. I want a game where I can sit down for 2 hours and experience being a Swan Knight of Dol Amroth and have a really cool adventure. And, do that I want to do and actually, experience it and have fun. Rhino says, love it. Played Deadlands, Flash Gordon, ETU, Rippers, and a few zombie survivor games with it. Also did D&D modules for about a year. Cool. I like it. There's some D&D modules I would like to adapt. Some classic, well, what I consider classic, which was stuff for about AD&D that I would love to play again with somebody. But I probably wouldn't do it in D&D. But if you have a game system that's flexible enough, use those modules that I remember enjoying so much and play them, but play with a different kind of system. Maybe Savage Worlds. Ripper and All for One. Regime Diabolique with Savage Worlds rules are some of my favorites. All right, let's see here. I need to load up the auxiliary camera, and let's go over here to close out the stream here.
I manage my department, and I've been doing that for several years now.
Your department's just you, right?
Yes, Jim, but I am not easy to manage.
All right, so I need an index card. So I've decided that the easiest thing to do here at the end, the easiest way to participate and do better here. Oh, where is I didn't add it to the stream. So here is the index card. So grab a piece of paper, something small. What we're doing here is what we are trying to accomplish for the rest of the day. And we're going to call these the big rocks. And actually, what I typically like to do is I like to fold this over, because I can also use the interior of this. If I've got to go to the store and I need to, pick up some things on a shopping list. How many times have you gone to the store and you need batteries or whatever, and you're there at the store, but you don't pick it up? If you have this in your pocket when you go to the store, review it before you go. But before you leave, I'm calling this the big rocks. These are the 3 things that you really want to be able to accomplish by the end of today, that we're going to work on for the next 11 hours before the wind down. If you accomplish them, you would say, you know what? I had a fantastic day today. I didn't get mine done yesterday because one of the things that it was kind of a lower priority item, but it was that intro. But I thought I was having problems with YouTube music, and all that can be a huge thing. But so I was like, let me just do this intro. I thought it was going to take 2 hours, ended up taking 6 hours, and ended up taking a whole bunch of my day. So I only got really one thing on my list done yesterday, which was the intro. So if you're following me, well, I've got the same thing on the list a lot. I've got to get this email server set up so I can start sending emails out more efficiently as far as all of our playtest emails and things like that. Let me just post that again here. I'll post those links again. So if you want to be in on the playtest and things like that, there we are. But I've got to get that going on. And then I've got to send out ritual playtest in emails to the playtest list. I've been way behind on that, and I didn't mean for it to take this long. So if you've been on the list, I've sent out I sent out version 0.6 of the rules, but then I had to go through Terra Tiles, and I've had just this terrible last 6 months. And so I'm trying to turn things around, but we got to get this going on. The emails out to the playtest lists, and then I really want to work with Tabletop Simulator so that I can come up with a place for us to do online playtesting, because we're an online community. People have asked, is there a way to playtest this online? I got to figure that out. That's what I'm trying to do right there, because there may be people who would love to play Ritual or other game, but they don't have a group, right? And it's a party game. So if I could come up with some way for us to do some virtual online playtesting, I'd love it. I'd love to play. So those are my 3 things. If I can do those things, then I would say to have a good day, and that I will, be happy to chill out at the Wind Down with you tonight, which is, here, same place you're watching right now. So that's it. If you accomplish those 3 things, you can add on a 4th, and you can really rock and roll, or a 5th. But if that's why one reason I don't do this on my phone is because it'll allow you to add 18 things, and I already have a to-do list on my computer that's got 300 things on it. And when you look at a list of 300 things, you get depressed and overwhelmed. So that's our big rocks. 3 different things here. That's what we're due. I hope that you have a really productive day today. I have really enjoyed hanging out with you. I think this live stream is going well, and I appreciate your being here. It's great to talk to you. To me, it's a really important part of my day. Like I said, I'm just trying this as an experiment, but I think the experiment's going well. I think it is. So, all right. I hope this has been beneficial to you. I look forward to seeing you at the Wind Down tonight, and perhaps in the Discord server and things like that. And also, don't forget to do some active recreation today. I'll post mine as an Instagram story I try to go about 3 Central. So see you later, everybody.